Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rizano, and you are listening to the greatest podcast in the universe. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you and I, we just call this show Online Marketing Moves, and we are coming to you live today. Today is let me get this straight, July the 8th, 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, my wife hates the way I say July. She wants me to say July, but I like to say July. Okay. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, ladies and gentlemen. We have a very exciting show. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't started downloading all 900 and 50,000 podcasts, what are you waiting on? What are you doing? Why not? What else are you doing? Binge, binge watch, binge listen, whatever you want to call it, however you want to do it. Binge listen all 999,001 episodes, okay? Soon we'll be coming up on the 1,000th episode. Thank you to everybody who's listened, downloaded, subscribed, been a fan. Okay, you know, over these last 4 or 5 years of us, chugging up that hill. As I told you before, we're not bought and paid by anybody. We are independent, as independent is gonna get. Okay, we're not kissing up to nobody, not trying to join anybody's network because we are the network. Okay, and sooner than later, ladies and gentlemen, we will be in the big time, the top 1%, because that's where we all want to be. When we want to be in the rarefied air. Okay, scoot over Joe Rogan, bought and paid. Scoot over name famous athlete, bought and paid. Scoot over celebrity who yaps about absolutely nothing. Scoot over Barack Obama, Hollywood O. Scoot over all you people, you podcast wannabe people, and make room for the greatest show in podcast history, Online Marketing Moves. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about something very important. Today we're going to talk about being mid-level. Okay, we're going to talk about being mid-card status. Now, Monday, as you all know, ladies and gentlemen, the not Monday. Was it Monday? The American team, they they blew it. No, they didn't blow it. They got blown out. They was easily defeated by Belgium, 4-1. We all know, ladies and gentlemen, United States, the dream. We can beat the. I don't know if you ever watch wrestling, but ladies and gentlemen, there's a thing in wrestling called a mid card person. Mid card is somebody that he beats the enhancement talent. He beats the as they used to say back in the day, the jobber. But then the mid-card person, let's say back in the day when I was a kid, I used to watch Coco Beware. Me and my brother, we enjoyed the Birdman. Okay, so Coco Beware, he would come out there, dance, strut with Frankie the Bird. Coco Beware, he would beat the enhancement talent up, drop kick him, do the bird dance, 1, 2, 3. All right. Then Coco Beware would fight somebody like the Honky Tonk Man, and he would lose. Ravishing Rick Rude, he would lose. So Coco was a mid card person. He could beat the lower level tier, but he couldn't beat the higher level tier. That's America. Okay, America, they can go in there, beat Australia 4-1. Yeah, man. Dominate, look real good. But then when we play somebody decent talent, Belgium, we would have got crushed if we'd played Spain or Portugal. You imagine us playing, Argentina? Come on, man. You imagine? France? We can't even beat England, England's a notch above us, a big notch above us. But I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to being mid card, you do not want to be mid card in the podcast level. You want to be in the rarefied air. Now, how do you get there? There's a lot of ways you can get there. Number one, ladies and gentlemen, you have to have a strategy. You have to have a plan. Now, I will tell you the biggest mistake I did when I first started this podcast was we had no plan, we had no goal, we just we just started recording because I just wanted to, do something, an outlet, to think and to talk and to get to know you, the viewer. So for me, it was not, I didn't have a plan. I didn't know where it was going. And then once I started doing it, I said, you know what? I like this a lot. I like doing it. I want to keep going. And so that's where we was at. So for me to you, do not make the same mistake. Have a plan. Say, who are you looking for? Who do you want to talk to? Who is your audience? And what do you want to say to them? The number two thing, ladies and gentlemen, you gotta have a gimmick. You gotta have a theme. What's your themes? You're talking dating, you're talking, relationships, you're talking gay marriage, you're talking gay dating, you're talking poly. What are you, what are you, what are you talking about? Um, the better you niche it down, the better off you will be. I'm telling you, the general broad stroke is not really going to work. Like if you talk basketball, great, but if you say, "Hey, I want to talk," Western Conference basketball, you'll get an audience. Will it be a big audience? Maybe, maybe not. But if you talk basketball, what kind of basketball you going to talk on the court, off the court? You got to talk to free agent rumors. What angle are you coming at? How do you want? What do you want to do? Do you want to talk stock market? You want to talk, bonds? You want to talk index funds, you want to talk the volatility of the stock market, like what part of the stock market you want to talk, options, what angle do you want? What niche do you want to be in? You got to remember that, okay? Um, the more you just think, hey man, who am I looking for? The better off you will be. Because now, in today's society, it's a lot of niche down, it's like owning a restaurant in Atlanta. These days, a lot of restaurants are grand opening, grand closing. A lot of that's going on because a lot of people you can't be like, oh man, there's a restaurant it's like 20 minutes from my house called Marriott Diner. The diner's a great place to go. I like a diner. Me and my wife's from New Jersey. People in New Jersey, they love diners from what I've learned in our time of being together. But I like a good old diner. They have breakfast, lunch. Um, a great place we go to in New Jersey is called Tops Diner, TOPSD. How you spell diner, but it's in Newark. It's a great place, and they have a lot on the menu. Now, for you newer restaurants, you might not want to do that. If you want to open up a restaurant right now, you might want to have three items on the menu. Soup, bread, something like that, salad. You don't want to have too much on the menu because now people are like, oh, everybody's anxiety ridden these days, so you don't want to stress people out. It's like for a while, I remember it was burgers. You would go to a burger place that would have this type of burger, a few items, few burgers, of course, French fries, maybe a salad, maybe a couple things for milkshakes and a drink. It's very simplistic. So you know, um, that being said, if you can niche it down pretty good, I am pretty sweaty, ladies and gents. If you can niche it down, that'd be great, and take it from there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is hot, but yeah, if you can niche it down, find an audience. Who are you talking to? A lot of times, we all know. If you're older, like I can talk. I don't know if young people are gonna listen to me, so I know, people 30 something, 40 something, you know. I look at my demographics every now and then. It's a lot of 25 to 40 something year old people because I'm so hip, probably. I mean, I'm down with the times. I'm down with the times, but but know who your audience is. If you're young, you're probably going to skew more to a younger audience. Um, on this show, we reference anything from Andy Griffith to spin that cash. So we're I just learned that song last week, so forgive me. But where's my scammers at? But yeah, I'd rather talk about Andy Griffith. But I'm telling you this, you just want to know who your audience is, men, women, dogs, cats, who are you looking for? Who are you reaching? That way, whenever you do an ad, whenever you do let's say you do a magazine or a newspaper, phone book, online, offline, does not matter. You want to go to the right place. You want to make sure that you can, find your people you're looking for because you will find them. but you just don't want to waste a lot of time. You don't want to spend a lot of money. Advertising is more and more expensive these days. Plus you want to get straight to the point. You want to get as quick. You want to get down to the point as quickly as possible. Okay. You don't want to be you don't want to be mid card forever. Mid card. It's a good gig, but these days the middle is getting cut out, ladies and gentlemen. You're gonna be rich or poor, basically. Okay, that's what they kind of want in today's society. The middle class is getting the squeeze. The middle class is getting the biggest squeeze. So if I was you, I mean, I ain't gonna tell you what to do. I ain't your daddy. Okay, but what I would do is I would work on I would work on gaining extra income, and putting it back and saving it because, man, I'll tell you what, when you get older, you want more, you're going to need more money for medicine, for a bigger car. Because when you get older, man, you don't want to listen, trust me. It's not even, I'm in pretty good shape. And, man, I mean, me and my wife, we had this discussion once. I was driving and, going down going into we had a Honda and we was going inside the Honda. And from the time we first bought the Honda to whenever we sold the Honda, it was night and day, like flopping, like all of a sudden I was like, I feel myself flopping into the car. My wife said, yeah, me too. And I was like, man, this ain't good. What's going on? It's like we just is getting older. And I wasn't no more than like 35, you know what I mean? 36. So just imagine when you're like, you're 50 something, you're trying to get into a car that's kind of low to the ground, unless you're doing that Russell Simmons yoga. No, I'm just kidding. You can do yoga. You don't have to be like Russell Simmons. Uh, but you can do yoga, all that kind of stuff. But you want to stay in pretty good shape. Even when you stay in pretty good shape, you're just older person. It just happens that way. Okay. So you want to be mindful of you want to make more money because they are squeezing the middle class, and Social Security it's still gonna be around eventually, but you might not get as much, you might have to wait on it as long. And man, the best thing you can always do, everybody, I'll tell you, is not have to work, trade in all your hours of your life for dollars. Okay. That's one of the main things I will preach probably to the day I die. um, there's nothing wrong with working. There's nothing wrong with honest pay, but at the end of the day, you wanna make the money you get, you want it to work for you. Okay, that's it, man. That's the goal. And so the better you are, the more you can get out of the mid card stage of anything. Whether you are selling, whether you are podcasting, creating content. You just don't want to be doing the same. You don't want to be the I mean, listen, they got 1,001 women showing you their bra and panties online. Okay, how are you going to stand out? Now you see these women, and they're cooking in their bra and panties, and they're like, look at me cooking a home meal. So people are gonna watch it. Now I don't watch it, but hey, people are gonna watch it. You know what I mean? And so it's like, hey, how are you gonna get an audience? Some people they might be the ones doing the dress up as cheerleaders or something like that and dance around, parade around. You never know. But there's always a way to stand out. There's always a way to move up. There's always a way to get attention. There's always a way to find an audience, and the more that you can figure that out, the more you can, spruce up your gimmick and, say, hey, who am I looking for? What am I doing? These are ways that you can get to the top a whole lot faster. Like I said, the more you niche down, the better off you will be. The quicker you get find your audience, figure out who you want to talk to, who are you looking for, the better off you will be. There's a lot of different ways you can go about it. But ladies and gentlemen, you have to figure that out. And eventually we will have a sheet, a down eventually, ladies and gentlemen, we I will get sheets for you to download on the website, and we will do all that stuff. And every episode, there will be a new episode, there will be a sheet you can download, a sheet you can get, we're gonna work on that. Okay. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That's all for today. Don't be a mid carder. Get out of the mid card status. Don't be America. Don't be the Atlanta Hawks. Don't be the mid card. Don't be Coco Beware. Be top tier. Be the top 1%. The 1% of the 1% of the 1%. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. We'll be back tomorrow with all new episode of online marketing moves. I appreciate each and every one of you. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, download all 999,901 episodes. Tell Spotify this is the greatest show I've ever listened to. Tell YouTube this is the greatest show I ever listened to. This is the greatest channel I've ever seen. Okay. Tell your friend, tell your neighbor, tell your dog, tell your cat, tell your rats. Okay, especially if you're from New York. Tell all the rats in your house if you live in New York. Okay, um, that's it. We'll be back tomorrow with all new episode. I appreciate you, and I love each and every one of you. And until tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, goodbye, and God bless. Peace.